Hey everyone, and welcome to our second episode of the Comcast NBC Universal's Sports Tech Webinar. I'm Natalie Connors, a member of the Sports Tech team, and I'll be your host today to go over all things Sports Tech. With that being said, let me introduce you to our panelists today. I'm happy to have Jose Vieitez here as a panelist. Jose's experience from both sides makes him the perfect guest. He's founded 5 startups, one of which was acquired, and he's worked as a designer at Google. He's now the portfolio director at Boomtown Accelerators. Jose, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Good. Our next guest, Jeffrey Donenfeld, is the investment director at Comcast Sports Tech. His background in advanced technologies will help guide this conversation towards innovation, and his experience advising startups will give us insight that our startups need. So, Jose and Jeffrey, it's getting pretty close to the application deadline date. Since we're right on the cusp of that, could you tell us what you guys are focusing on leading up to the deadline? Jeffrey, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so let's see. Leading up to the deadline, for Comcast Sports Tech, we're focusing on reading all of these awesome applications and talking to the applicants. There's so many cool ideas that come across our desk, and great teams and awesome concepts. We're getting through all of it, and then doing calls and first round interviews with selected applicants. Additionally, as we get closer to the deadline here, we're talking to our partners within Comcast, the sports leagues, NBC Sports, and talking about the initial technologies and teams that we're seeing, about how they're doing, what they're focusing on, and starting to make those connections.
Jose, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I've been, the companies are coming through faster than we can keep up with them. And it seems a lot of people like to wait to the last minute. So we're getting a flood of applications right now too. And I know some of you guys have applied a while ago, because as you know, we have to change the deadline or the start time of our program. Getting through these companies, I've been staying up late, and our team has been staying up late to make sure that we give everyone a timely response for the status of your companies. So we're reviewing companies, and then, as Jeffrey mentioned, speaking with our partners and kind of weighing how their interests are changing over time, and what they're most interested in the types of companies they want to work with. So as we get to know that better, it gives us a better idea of what we're looking for, and it's allowed a number of the companies that have applied to bubble up and to bubble up towards the top.
Yeah. That's super exciting to hear that there's so many ideas out there, though, for sports tech. You know, what a big thing. So for everyone listening in today, we really want you guys to get involved. So use the chat feature on the right. You can use it throughout the entire session. So feel free to drop your name, let us know where you're from, and of course, any questions that you'd like our panelists to ask. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's just go ahead and talk about the Accelerator Program and all it entails in itself. So Jose, do you want to give us a brief overview of the program?
Absolutely. So we've been running accelerators for over 7 years now. And it's exciting to take that expertise and bring it together, marry it with these amazing partners that aren't just logos on a screen, even though you see all these logos here. There's a number of other partners who are interested that we could put up there, but these are partners that have said, we want to work with these startups. So during the Accelerator Program, not only do you get world-class mentorship from over 400 mentors, and a customized curriculum based on the companies that are coming into our program, that we never run the same program twice, and we're going to be customizing this program for sports tech companies, and specifically for this first round of sports tech companies. But throughout the program too, you'll be working very closely with these partners, because if you get into the program, it's because at least one of these partners have said, we want to work with your startup. So you're going to have lots of touch points, lots of feedback that may completely invalidate your company, and feedback that may take you, into the stratosphere where they say, we want to do something with you now. So that's over 12 weeks, and throughout that curriculum, it's a combination of, it's hard to pin down exactly what it will look like because, as I mentioned, we're changing it all the time. But it's a combination of validation, customer understanding, and going deeper into identifying what your needs are specifically as a business, and then giving you the tools you need to solve that. So if it's fundraising, we'll help you with that. If it's growth, if it's marketing, whatever it is, we're going to guide you towards what is the best benefit and the greatest return and value for your startup.
Awesome. That was a great overview. So Jeffrey, why don't you go into the 8 investment areas that the accelerator, really focuses on? Okay.
Thanks, Natalie. So we do have 8 investment areas, and these areas are really our attempt to quantify and kind of bucket all of the areas of innovation and technology that we see. That being said, there's so much out there that we're learning about every day, and we really, even if you feel like you don't fit into any of these buckets, we really encourage you to still communicate with us and apply and everything. So the eight investment areas that we really look at are fan and player engagement, athlete player performance, media and entertainment, venue and event innovation, team and coach success, business of sports, fantasy sports and betting, and esports. And just to give a little more scope there, you can see that, going from fan player engagement all the way to business and then fantasy sports and betting, it's a huge range, and it's not just like sports performance or just gambling or sports betting or whatever. We really have this huge range of areas that we're interested in.
Awesome. So I want to piggyback on that a little bit with a question just to clarify for everyone. So if a company doesn't happen to specifically fit into one of those 8 investment areas, so say, they might be sports tech, but think they might be out of the realm of one of those areas, or vice versa, do you still encourage them to apply?
Yeah, absolutely apply. And hit us up and tell Jose and I why you're unique and special and why you don't fit in one of these categories. You're speaking directly to us when you email us, and we'd love to have a conversation with you about that.
Awesome. That's good to hear. So Jose, with there being 8 investment areas, is there an order of importance to any of them, or do they all hold the same weight within the program? Can you explain that to the audience, please?
Absolutely. I think, I don't think there's an order specifically of importance inherently in that list. I do find that there are certain areas that have more and less representation. Where we see a lot of kind of athlete performance or player engagement type of companies. I see that a lot of companies that are saying business of sports. If you're kind of every company checks that off, it looks like. So we have some that are kind of underrepresented so far, some around kind of esports, as I mentioned, venue and event innovation, and even team and coach success. Sometimes there are fewer of those. So, if you're in that, I definitely encourage you to jump in there, as we want to make sure that we have companies that cover the gamut of verticals there. What I'm finding as far as importance is, it's not so much the categories themselves, but rather how relevant they are with relation to the interests of our partners. And we've got, you're in an unprecedented time with differences and changes in how we work, how sports are viewed and even played. And any companies that can attend to those interests, to those new and changing dynamics in the sports and media and athlete ecosystem, those will inherently have kind of a higher level of interest, because people are still trying to figure out how to navigate this. So if you've got a unique way of navigating, remote watching of sports and increasing engagement and even increasing monetization of remote watchers and viewers, that's unique, and that's valuable. It's also very time sensitive, because once this thing is over, and we go back to business as usual, if we ever do, that window is kind of closed. So we want to make sure that we can capitalize on this period of time with kind of thriving through it in the sports ecosystem, not just surviving until things return back to normal.
Awesome. Yeah. So, you obviously told us that there's no real area of, or importance rating, but that obviously some are more prominent. So with that being said, are there any that are more prominent to our partners, or, you know, that they're more interested in?
Each of our partners so far we've seen have different levels of interest in different verticals. So I think all the categories are well represented across all of our partners, but different ones will have you know, more different levels of interest. For example, in the cycling space, for example, you have kind of you know, they're already very much into the high tech and maximizing, you know, the performance of every person. So they're, you know, they're trying to look at how to maybe maximize you know, the engagement of fans in the cycling space. And then, you know, conversely, you know, other organizations that maybe have focused more on the consumption side and less on, you know, and kind of left it up to the athletes to train and to maximize their performance. They may be looking for more things around the athlete performance side.
Right. Makes complete sense. So Jeffrey, Jose had mentioned obviously that we're in unprecedented times. So with that being said, how have you seen these investment areas change in 2020, you know, on notes of consumption and all of them in general?
Yeah, it's such an interesting time that we're in, and it's you know, it's providing opportunities for us to focus on all sorts of interesting new areas. One of the areas that we've been, you know, talking a lot about lately that has really come to the forefront is at-home sports viewing, second screen experience, you know, sports betting and fantasy from home, and all of these experiences that can be both re-enabled for at-home viewing of sports, and also used to enhance the entire process. You know, we're looking at 360 and VR camera capture technology. We're looking at technologies that allow for a perfectly synchronized second screen experience. So the frames that you're seeing on your screen are the same as the frames that people are seeing on their screens at the same time. All sorts of interesting areas like that. And then we're also looking at a lot of athlete performance tracking and more data that can be used to further enhance that at-home viewing experience. And that's, you know, that's one area. And I can go on and on about this, and that's what we love talking about.
Right. So now I'm actually going to call on the audience, since we've kind of covered a lot about investment areas, and I'm going to launch a poll, and we just kind of want to know what area you're either currently working in or have interest in, and just see kind of where these investment areas are going to take us. So let's take a quick moment to do that.
What's your favorite area of sports tech?
Oh, we can't vote. We're not allowed to vote.
No, we're not allowed to vote. Natalie, we can't vote. I will be very interested to see what people vote for here.
So what's interesting to me as I'm watching it on my screen is that all 8 investment areas immediately were covered. So I think that's always a cool thing. Perfect. How we have, you know, someone from every little nook, and they're all relatively even as well. So
interesting.
I'm going to give everyone about 15 more seconds to vote, and then we'll definitely make sure we share that result with everyone that joined us.
And, you know, while people are voting, I just got to say, in looking at all of these areas and considering who our partners are and the confines of the program and everything, you'd be surprised at how much crossover there is between these different areas and different, companies and brands that we work with. For example, fantasy sports and betting crosses over into both leagues and players, but as well as broadcast technology. And for example, our partners at NBC Sports have their sports predictor app that's kind of in that realm. So all sorts of cool potential.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll share those results with everyone fully at the end for sure, but just so everyone knows, fan and player engagement topped the charts with 44%. So that's our top one as of now.
Fan and player engagement.
Things are forever changing for sure. Okay, so let's move on. I'm seeing everyone's questions come in, and we'll definitely make sure that we get to those at the end. So a lot of our audience are applicants or potential applicants. Of course, we love to see those applications coming in and being finished. like Jose said, he's seeing a lot of great ideas. So Jose or Jeffrey, is there a recipe that really makes a startup a great fit for this accelerator program?
I can start and give a quick bit. There's no one recipe that makes a company a good fit. There's no exact level of traction or funding or investment, or even investment area or technology. In general, what makes a great fit is an awesome team and a great open mindset. A team who is interested in working with us, working with our partners, our mentor, our network, in fully exploring what they're doing, their pathway, asking questions, tearing things down, building it back up, and really, finding their best path forward. We love working with teams like that. And Jose, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think every company, there's no, as you mentioned, there's no specific formula for it, but rather every company, what I look for specifically is that in the application and in conversations that you're putting forth the best argument, that you've got the ingredients in place to execute on the vision that you're going after. So that looks different for different companies. If it's hardware, it probably includes hardware engineers. If it's SaaS, people that build SaaS products or sold into enterprise in the past. So it's different, but it's kind of up to you to tell us that you've got the right ingredients in place. And we try to extract that from our questions in our application. And what I look for are usually, we prefer at least 2 people on a team, just because the accelerator program is a lot of work and it's an intense experience. And there are some companies that have one co-founder and they've got a couple of employees, and that's okay as long as the employees are working full time and committed. It doesn't, if you're a solo founder, you're not automatically excluded from the program. When you're a solo founder and don't have employees either, that becomes a bit more dicey, because we've just seen a lot of solo founders and solo individuals kind of struggle through our accelerators. So we look for teams with at least 2 people, usually a combination of technology and business side, and a level of maturity both in the industry and industry knowledge that you're going after from the founders, so you know how to navigate in the space you're in, and also a level of maturity of the product. Again, not so much from the traction side or fundraising or any of that, but as I mentioned in the past, if NBC Sports or Golf comes up to you and says, we want to do something right now, is it going to take you 2 years to get to a point where you can actually even do a pilot, or will you be able to do it within a reasonable period of time, a few weeks or months or whatever? So it's about also the level of maturity for your product. And if you're not there yet, that's totally fine. We plan to run more accelerators, and we'd love to continue to stay in touch with you and bring you in the future. And actually, I'll say that statistically, it's very selective. The number of applications we have for 10 spots, it means a very small percentage of acceptance. It doesn't mean you're not a great company. It doesn't mean you don't have potential. But we're just looking for the companies that not only are a great fit, but also a great fit right now. And that might look different. You might be a great fit in 6 months or a year, and we'd love to stay in touch with you, even if you don't get accepted right now.
Yeah, and I'll say I've, being a part of these accelerators before, I've seen companies that have applied and then come back the next year and come back super strong. So I love that we're constantly looking at other companies and taking in applications and really seeing what these founders are about. So
we love staying in touch with teams for years and wait until that right time when they can get the best benefit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think our record was 6 times that they applied and they got in with the same company, and they ended up getting in and they rocked it. They're great.
But we love that founder grit, don't we? So with all that being said, let's just kind of talk about a little bit why are we the right people to be doing this? Because as much as we look to these founders to have certain cred and stuff like that, why should they trust in us? So how did we come up with this, and really just why are we the right people to be doing this?
That's great. So as I mentioned earlier in today's talk, the we've been doing accelerators for a long time, over 70 years. We've done over 16 cohorts, invested in over 150 companies. So our understanding of, what it takes at an early stage to be successful and to get to the next level as an entrepreneur and to get you set up on the right track is, I wouldn't say we figured it out because it's constantly changing, but we've learned a lot and we know a lot about the space. And you're getting the benefit of many previous iterations, many experiments. We run over 50 experiments in every cohort that we learn from. And so every single cohort are guinea pigs, but they're also benefiting from hundreds and thousands of other experiments in the past. We've got world-class leaders in innovation and design thinking and product management, world-class leaders in finance and legal, sales, marketing. We've got a really robust team of experts from around the world that have joined our team that you get to benefit from. And you get to benefit from that not only now, but as you graduate, we continue to support you as entrepreneurs because we want to see you succeed. And anything we can do to help you succeed is to our benefit because, we're bought in with you guys since we would own a piece of your company. And then you bring that and you marry it with Comcast, who has been extremely supportive and has helped us lead the Farm Accelerator. So we've run 3 cohorts out of Atlanta, and they continue to support companies that have gone through that, plus all of their partners, as you see up there, who are really excited to find the next frontier and the next wave of innovative technologies that they can work with. It's really exciting to be a conduit to connect the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of startups out there and help kind of coach you as entrepreneurs to get in front of them and put your best foot forward, and then help our partners to also best work with you to make sure that we can take those connections and actually bring them to fruition into actual partnerships and pilots.
Awesome. So Jeffrey, just to elaborate on that a little bit, obviously I think everyone's aware that this will be the first official class to be just specifically Comcast Sports Tech. I saw a question earlier from someone asking about Boomtown Accelerators overall and what the relationship is. Do you mind giving a brief overview, Jeffrey, of that connection and, kind of how our organization works, please?
Yeah, sure. So Boomtown Accelerators is founded actually in part by Jose. We're based in Boulder, Colorado. We've been running accelerator programs for a number of years, both in Boulder and in Atlanta. In Boulder, we run Tech Accelerator. We've worked in health tech and also in part with Comcast on a hardware and connectivity focused accelerator. In Atlanta, we work with our partners Comcast to run 2 accelerators, a tech accelerator called the Farm, which I'm drinking out of a Farm mug right now, and then the SportsTech Accelerator. We are corporate partners with Comcast, and they work with us to help select the companies that we bring into the cohort, build the cohort, develop the program that we customize for every company that comes in. We work with our mentor network and our trainers and staff and everything, manage the space, produce the demo day, do all those moving parts and really make the program come together. And then Comcast and their brands and partners like USA Cycling, NBC Sports, Sky Sports, etc., come in to provide industry insight, expertise, potentials for partnerships, working together, introductions in the industry, and all those benefits. It's kind of a cool connection. Boomtown's a small company. We're a handful of people, and we've been lucky enough to be able to work with a massive company like Comcast and connect, our insight and prowess in the startup field with Comcast's vast resources, connections, and industry-leading technology and everything to give startups really the best opportunities.
Yeah. So I'll add to that. I just think it's interesting being here in Atlanta and obviously you guys in Boulder. Just what you're saying, Jeffrey, how we are a small team being part of Boomtown Accelerators, very close knit, but the resources we have and the mentor networks and the partnerships and stuff really, makes us large and in charge without, losing that personable aspect. And I definitely think that's always been one of my favorite things about being a part of the company. So I know founders love it too when they come through, because everyone, but then here you are making these, large deals and getting all these opportunities. So
it's a heck of an education opportunity too, to come from a startup area and say, hey, it's just two of us, we can change the entire company after a 15-minute conversation. Now we're working with Comcast that, changes and moves very slowly, but can make big things happen. And it's interesting to understand and learn how to work within that system and really be effective and move forward.
Yeah. So let's use these next few minutes to get down to the nitty gritty and definitely talk applications. I know that's always on everyone's mind. And again, for those of you who are thinking about applying or in the midst of applying, that deadline is the 15th. So we really encourage you to apply. I'm sure, whatever you have working on there, we can help with. So let's make sure we get those in. So for applications, Jose, let's start with you. Do you just have any basic tips?
Make sure you you share the information on your founders. It's the most important thing for us. You can have, a slightly less interesting idea, but a world-class team, and we'll take that team any day of the week over an amazing idea with, a mediocre team. So make sure that shines and that stands out. If you feel like you didn't do a great job sharing about your team already, please go on F-Success and provide an update, which you can go through the system and do that, and we'll get a notification. And that's the case with any other updates you've had that are significant about your company, any sort of levels of traction, new partnerships, et cetera. We'll get notifications when you update that, and we'll save it and add it to your application. But make sure we know about your team, like why you're the right individuals to do this, what makes you, uniquely positioned to succeed in this space. You've worked, if you're doing something in sports performance, you've got a PhD in, kinesiology, and you worked in, for Peloton for 5 years or whatever else. Like, that's all relevant information that would allow you to have a leg up over somebody who's just entering the market just because they came up with an idea, but they have no idea how it works. So make sure your team, you be as thorough as you can about your team. If you're relying kind of on your LinkedIn, make sure your LinkedIn is up to date and you've got a lot of information on there. If you don't have one, I do recommend you make one. And yeah, that's really the biggest thing I've seen. If most people are doing a pretty good job at talking about their company, but usually they kind of skip a little bit on the team side, but that's important.
So we want to hear them brag on themselves for sure, sounding like. Jeffrey, what tips do you have for all the people out here thinking about applying or in the midst of it?
Like Jose said, team is huge, and we love seeing all that information. Another item that I would say, just having read a bunch of these, is there's a section that asks for a one-liner and then a value proposition. Try to keep it succinct and to the point so that we can look it over and get a good idea of what we're talking about, and then delve into the info and data that you have in there. The applications that more consistently don't do as well are applications that seem like they've been copy and pasted from long technical documents and everything. So, keeping it succinct and to the point is important. I also love to understand in an application what the crux, the core of the value of a product is. Is it the first mover advantage? Are you doing a new mechanism of doing business? Is there a specific technology? And if you're building, say, some sort of hardware sensor that connects wirelessly to an app that then a user interacts with, in that example, is the crux of your innovation the sensor that's in the hardware, the connection to the app and how that connection, the processing of the data, the UI and UX experience that the end user has, and where's it really lie in there?
Yeah, definitely a lot of factors to look into. But I do think that's awesome advice. So just a few more questions, very basic, and then we'll move on to questions that the audience has asked. So I saw a question from Irvin about how many applicants will be selected and if we always just take 10. Jose, do you want to comment?
Yeah, we're 10 is what we're aiming for. We have some amazing companies out there, so we might be able to, ask a favor, especially if it's big, really on our program team who has to carry a lot of the brunt of having to support more and more companies at a time. But if needed, we're gonna vouch. I mean, we're on your side. We want to get amazing companies in, and so we may push it to a couple more if needed. But I'll have to buy them some ice cream or something later. But 10 is what we're going for. We may make an exception. So.
Sounds good. And for these 10 companies, the ones that do get accepted into the program, can one of you let us know how they'll be notified, please?
They'll be notified initially via email and then via a call. 10 companies, you guys are our community, our friends, and we're excited to work with you. And so you will definitely get a call from one of us, and ideally all of us, to welcome you in and talk to you about what comes next, and work with you on the onboarding steps and to see what we can do to start getting you as much value as possible from day one. As soon as you're on board with us before the program, how can we help? Like, you're in our mix.
Exciting. All right, well, let's move on to some questions that we've actually been asked by the audience. So Chris has asked, I apologize. Clifton has asked, at what point is a company too far along for you to consider?
That's a great question. I think if you're too far along if you're not able to put time towards the program. The further along, I'd say, the more likely you'll have multiple partners that are going to be interested in working with you, because you're going to be a more robust, safer bet for them to work with, right? You're not going to be at a prototype stage or like an early validation stage. You'll have a product that they can get running with right away. But if you don't have time to, at least have, a couple people focused on going through the program and going through a lot of the process that, again, is customized towards you. So if you're far along, we'll be customizing it for you, and maybe it's more focused on how to have those conversations with the sports partners, how to think creatively about your offering to solve their problems and get a deal structured in the optimal way. If that's too far along, if that's not possible, then yeah, I'd say you're too far along. But we still love to talk to you. We still love to talk to you, because if anything, you can be on our radar. And if there's a unique scenario where maybe there's a way that we can still have a conversation, and we still love helping entrepreneurs regardless. So if you're too early, if you're too far, we still love to talk to you, because and we're in this for the entrepreneurs, and we want to find cool ways to help you guys.
Awesome. So here's another question, Jeffrey. So is there anything an applicant can or should be doing before finalizing their application? And secondly, to add to that, if your company truly checks multiple boxes, how should they say that?
You're on mute, Jeffrey. Whoops, I was muted. There's nothing that they should do before finalizing their application other than making sure it's as strong as possible. A lot of times I would say, get your application in and then provide us updates. If you have updates, don't wait till the deadline, till the last minute to get the most perfect application. Get it in, let's get into a conversation and talk about it. Really, this process for us is really a lot about relationships and getting to know people and understanding what they're up to. It's not just quantifying the merits of a paper application that's been submitted. So yeah.
Awesome. So speaking of applications, so Martin has asked us, he said, we have an innovation that is specific to sport, but the sport is not on our partnership list. Will that disqualify them?
No.
It won't disqualify you. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Oh, no. All you, Jose. You got it.
Sure. Yeah, it won't disqualify you. It does make it harder to figure out where you fit, because again, we want to find a partner who says we want to work with you. Every company that joins will have at least one partner that says they're kind of your sponsor of sorts, right? They're like, we want to work with this company, and some companies we're already seeing are getting multiple individuals who are interested, multiple organizations who are interested. But if you're a strong company, you're doing something unique and it doesn't fit, we'll still bring it to them. And I think we're going to be surprised about some companies that come out of left field and don't have anything to do with, say, swimming, but they're like, actually, this is solving a huge problem for us in this other space. So if you have a strong team and you're solving an important problem, we still want to. You won't be disqualified automatically. We're considering every company, but it does lower the chances of getting that perfect fit with one of our partners, which is a requirement. You can be a great company and still not quite be a fit for our partner, and we'll have to pass on you guys. But I still encourage you to apply.
Awesome. So Jeffrey, do you want to comment? I know you're the travel guy. Once someone asked about having a founder that's not US based, do you want to comment on the global scale of our company?
Yeah, absolutely. So having a founder that's not US based, first of all, it is an in-person 12-week program. So you're going to have to come to Atlanta to work with us for the duration of the program. And we really look at creating a community and bringing people together. So that's the first thing. And secondly, not being a US based company is fine. We've worked with companies from all over the world, and think that adding companies from all over the world, all over the United States, creates a great cohesive group and helps blend and connect all of those ideas. I think it's a really great thing. Additionally, while we're on that topic, in terms of the entity or the state of the technical company or whatever, we don't require that when you're applying to us, you have any specific structure of your company, whether it's a Delaware C Corp, an internationally registered company, or even not even an officially established company on paper. That's one of the things that we will look forward to working with you on and helping you to optimize based on what your goals are and what really makes the most sense for you. And if you are already established as a company and we determine that works, great. And if not, we'll work with you to tune it up a little bit.
Awesome.
I will add to that briefly, which is on the in-person requirement, which is one of the most common questions. We're in unprecedented times, right? We don't know what it's gonna look like next spring. So 2 people in person full time is the ideal. But we understand things might change, things might be different. As long as you've got 2 people full time working on the company, at least, we want to have a conversation with you, right? There are unique scenarios where you say, there's something happens where one person has to come and one's like flying in and out or whatever else. We can figure out if there's still a fit. It's not a guarantee that that's going to be a perfect setup, but let's have the conversation and let's see if there's a good fit for your company.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're wrapping up a little bit on time. I do want to ask a few more questions. And I definitely think this one is super important. Our website mentions that we do give, at the end of the program, essentially you come out with $1.7 million worth of perks, and all these benefits to coming through the program. Jose, do you want to comment on some of those things that, you get coming through the program and how that's beneficial?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got all sorts of partnerships for all over the world, everything from hundreds of thousands from AWS credits, Google Cloud credits, SoftLayer, IBM, MailChimp, and all sorts of different perks, Stripe. Basically, it's most tools that companies need to get their companies up and running that it usually is a prohibitive cost. Most of those tools, we've got some level of discount or a huge amount of credits to basically give you the biggest running start for you and for your company, and not have to worry about those expenses until they're kind of negligible in the future. So we've got a number of credits there, and they're available to you not just during the program, but then after you graduate also. It's one of the more common alumni questions is, hey, can I get access to this perk? Yeah,
I always make the joke that we can never really get rid of our alumni, even during quarantine. I think it's, us all still connecting and stuff. I think it's a really awesome thing to witness. So we are coming up on time. I want to say I appreciate everyone joining us today. A recording of this will be accessible on our website by tomorrow around end of day. So definitely make sure you're following our website at comcastsportstech.com. You can get updates to more webinars in the future and just things we're working on if you follow us on social at Comcast Sport. And then most importantly, because we really want to see you guys in our program, the deadline for those applications are August 15th. So Jose and Jeffrey, I really appreciate all you guys talked about today. I'm assuming you were going to make some super great connections coming out of this, and I look forward to seeing those new sports tech ideas coming through our program. So
thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
And thanks, Natalie, for hosting us.
Yeah, of course. Everyone have a great rest of their night, and we look forward to seeing your applications.
Talk to you all soon.
Bye.